Good morning and welcome to this next episode of Governance Dialogues. My name is Alissa Kole and I'm the Managing Director of Governance Center. One of the most recent and very interesting reports that was released on this topic was actually by the OECD, my former employer, which investigates in a very comprehensive way through a survey of approximately or close to 30 jurisdictions, corruption risks and drivers and challenges around the world. And it's a great pleasure for me today to host the primary author of that report, France Chain, who's joining us from Paris today. What might be in this kind of new environment, some of the challenges and drivers of for companies to adopt anti-corruption programs today?
Close to 80% of respondents said that enforcement was the main driver to have anti-corruption compliance measures either adopted or reviewed. So that's that, and the reputational concerns that go with that. That is still today the key driver for a lot of companies. We surveyed about 130. We interviewed about 15. That's the biggest driver today, enforcement.
So I wonder, what's your view, based on your conversations again, of the responsibility of senior management and perhaps separately the board members in terms of their personal kind of responsibility and liability vis-a-vis corruption risk? Is that something that's driving better in-house, let's say, internal oversight?
So we have 44 countries who are party to this anti-bribery convention and that therefore criminalize the giving of bribes to officials. Of these countries, frankly, in a lot of cases, the problem is not the liability of individuals. It's not the liability of the companies. It's the liability of the individuals that is mostly enforced. Because the concept of holding companies liable in a lot of jurisdictions is still a complicated concept. Sometimes the law is the problem. It's not strong enough to hold companies liable, or the sanctions aren't high enough, and so it's not worth it. For instance, in a recent report on Korea.
Do you think that boards today, or have you had any feedback from the compliance officers or others on whether boards are actually fit to task to, do they have the right skills to oversee this type of risks?
The question is, how much does the board want to? I think that's what came out through the study, and I found it concerning because we're now in 2020. We're not at the beginning of compliance. One would think that, the tone from the top has been repeated often enough that it would have permeated many levels. And yet we've got over 60% of respondents that they said that they had to fight a perception in their company that the compliance program wasn't needed. That executive commitment to anti-corruption remains a challenge. And this often comes down again to the fact that corruption risks are intangible, and they're intangible until you have a problem, until an incident occurs. And that probably answers your question about the board's capacity to assess corruption risks. I mean, if they don't really want to, if they don't consider it as something that's real, then how willing are they going to even be to engage? If they're willing to engage, then I think capacity is not going to be the problem.